Okay, good morning and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube, just Daf It. Today we're doing Kesubos Ayin Gimel, Kesubos 73, a great share for you today. Talk about apparent machlokas in our Mishnah. Kidshal, Tanai, V'kinsa, Stam. It's not clear that our Mishnah is talking about that, but we have a big machlokas in Amoraim, Tin Rav and Shmuel, and we'll delineate that machlokas going forward. Let's start from the bottom. Ayin Bezim and Bez. The second to last line, Itmar, Kidsha al Tanai Vikinsa Stam. He's Makadish woman al Tanai. The Mishnah mentioned two types of Tanaim, a Tanai that doesn't want his wife to have Nadarim or have any mumim or have any blemishes. So Vikinsa Stam, and then he married her without mentioning this Tanai, without mentioning this stipulation. Rav Amar Tzrichem get. Rav says he marries her and he finds that she has nadarim or she has blemishes. He didn't get it was a valid marriage. Shmuel says the marriage is invalid. He made it tonight. Amar Abaye, top of Ayin Gimel and Aleph. Lo tema taima de Rav kema shekinta stam achuli achle tonight. Don't say the reason of Rav, right? The reason that she's concerned married and they need to get is because once he was kones her stam, right? He hold on one second. Let's get this a little straighter. Once he was Mekanish or Stam, he married her without mentioning the Tanai. Achule achle Tanai. He knew there was his Tanai, but he was Mochel. He recanted his Tanai. Elatima deral if Yishain Adam Osa Bilaso Bilas. No, he knew there was a Tanai. He left it as a Tanai, but somehow, because he was Boel or Kansa, he was Boel. He took her into his bedroom as Boel her. So therefore, when he was Boel her, he didn't do the Shem's Nus. He's not going to want to do a Beila. It's outside the constructs of marriage. So therefore, he assumed in his mind, he knew that Tanai might invalidate the marriage. Afal Pikin, even so, I'm going to be Makadesh her now with the Bila after the chup. I'm using my watch, it has some music on it, so smart watch. The music just went on in the middle. Avi Ilson's Tainley Orr. You know what that is. Anyway, so the reason is that when he's boel her, when he after they come home at night, he's boel her. He does that l'shem kedushin. So it's actually the kedushin. Actually, I'll explain more in Enoch Ben Sion the actual difference between these two different svaras over here. Is he mochel etnai or is it enadam oseh bilaso bilasos? Is that the reason? So the Gemara is haplikibal chadazim. Now they already argued this one time. Ditmar ktana shalomina, a ktana that it didn't do miyun v'higdila. She was married off by her brother or her mother, and she became Agdola, Amda Venises. Then she went and she proceeded to marry someone else after she became Agdola, and she already did Bia with the husband that she married as Aktana. Rav Marina Sricha get Misheni. Rav says the marriage she did with the second person is invalid because she's already married to the first person. Once she does a Bia as Agdola, Shmuel Amar Sricha get Misheni. Shmuel says she does need to get from the second person, Sricha, right? And the same reasoning applies, presumably, right? The Rav says, Eida demosa bilaso bilas nos. So therefore, when she became Agdola and she had Bia, so therefore she married the second person, she married the first person, and therefore the marriage to the second person is invalid, because a woman can't be married to two people. And Shmuel says, we don't say a svara of Eida demosa bilaso bilas nos. So the Gemara is Sricha, you need both teachings. Dietmar. Bahi Kamar Rav. We just said over here, Rav said it over here, I'm sorry, over there, by Miyun, Rav said it over there, because there's no Tanai. Here where there's a Tanai, right? Made a stipulation, so he already stated to us he doesn't want to be married to this woman, so therefore, maybe we don't assume he already stated what his intentions were. He doesn't want to marry her if she has Nadarim or Mumim, so therefore, he doesn't. His bia is not considered a valid bia as a kedushin. V'idmar baha. If we just said over there, baha kamar Shmuel avahachem model the Rav. We said over here that he's moded to Rav. I'm sorry, by me, and we say he's moded to Rav because there's no Tanai over there. Sricha. So needed teacher in both cases. Rav says eina damosa bilas to bilas, and Shmuel doesn't say that. Tanan. Our Mishnah says, "Kansastam minim strola in adorim teis yishalo b'ksuva." If he was kansa stam. That's the seifa of the Mishnah, and he finds that she has nedarim, so she has to leave the marriage without a ksuba. Ksuba is lo baya hagita baya, right? There's no need to pay her a ksuba, but you need to give her a get. My love, kidshal tanai v'kinsa stam. Isn't that the case that our Mishnah is talking? The seifa, the second case that our Mishnah is talking about is kidshal tanai v'kinsa stam. It's you have to do Shmuel, and it's a disproof of Shmuel. So the Gemara says the top of Ayin Gimel is lo kidshal stam v'kinsa stam. It's talking about a case. The seifa is talking about a case where there was no tanai in the kedushin. He made the kedushin without a tanai, and then he was makonis her stam, and then he found that she has an adarim removement. Can he invalidate the marriage? Al kidshal tanai v'kinsa stam hakanam midlavaya get. So the Gemara says, but if it was a case where Rav and Shmuel had their machlokes, there was a kedushin, and then he was konis her stam, they are hakanam midlavaya gita. She doesn't need a get. Instead of saying the reisha where he's makadosh the woman with a tanai. So this is the kinsa stam. Right? Say the more pasha case where there was no tanai, they're not mekudeshes, and certainly in a case we know certainly in a case where the tanai is not mekudeshes. Whereas the hakanami kamer, that is what the Mishnah is saying. Kinsa stam. This will in the darim and mekudeshes. Right? The first case was talking about what Rav and Shmuel were talking about. The mekadosh al tanai. And then he was kodesh without mentioning the tonight. And then she has Nadarim, which is not Mekadesh. Kinsha Stam, Mekonsa Stam, the Sefer is talking about where he was Mekadesh or Stam, Mekonsa Stam, Teitise Yishalo Beksuva. Then she doesn't need to get a Ksuva. Ksuva, Lo Baya Hagita Baya, but she needs a get. Umayishna Ksuva, Umayishna Ksuva Lo Baya. Why do you need to give her a Ksuva? The Amar, the Baya, Hagita Baya. Umayishna Ksuva Lo Baya. Why Ksuva you don't need a get? You do. The Amar Yevshi, he says he's Makadish or Stam, he's Kansa Stam, right? He said, I don't want to marry a woman, I don't want to be married to a woman who's in Adronis. I can invalidate the marriage. Even though I didn't stipulate that, I can invalidate the marriage. If so, he shouldn't need a get. You say, it was a Kiddush, it was a marriage that was possible to begin with. I didn't want to get married under these circumstances. Rabbi answers, really, the right, so you're right. He doesn't need to give her a get. Midarabanan never goes there, they should give a get in this case. Rav Chisda says likewise. Rav Amar, Rav is a different answer. The Tana wasn't sure. Gabe, if you don't make a Tanai, so we don't know that's really, your marriage hinges on the fact that she doesn't have Nadarim, she doesn't have movement. So you didn't make a Tanai. So the Tana was Sukim Misafli, when it comes to Mamon, she can't collect her ksuva because you have the money. The suffix, it's on her to prove that it was a good marriage. However, by Ashes Ish or Machmer, suffix Ashes Ish, she might be married to you, therefore you need to get something the rice, you have to give a get because of suffix the rice or l'chumra. Amar Rabba, Rabba states, Machlokas B'to Shtei Nashim. The Machlokas between Rav and Shmuel was not talking about a regular case of Chid Shal Tanai V'Kunsa Stam, like we said before. It wasn't talking about that case. It's talking about where he has a toes of shtei nashim. Toes of shtei nashim means basically that where are we? Where it was two different women involved, right? He married one, and he thought it was a different woman. Now, toes isha achas, right? Like what we're assuming until now, divrei hakol in sricham. Again, everyone agrees to Shmuel. She doesn't need to get. I'm like Abaye says to Rabba, this isn't Toos Isha Akasi. Our Mishnah definitely was talking about one woman. Abaye says if what Rabba makes sense, it would have to be like this. I'm a Rabba Machlos B'Toos Isha Akas Ke'en Shtei Nashim. Right? Our Mishnah obviously talking about one woman. About it would be their Machlokas would be Rabba and Shmuel about one woman like two women, meaning a case is he got married to her with a Tanai. As Moshe Klein, Berchos Hashem, Moshe Haddad, that is. So the case is talking about he got married to Al Tanai, and then they got divorced, and then he married her second time without reiterating the Tanai. Right? Everyone agrees. Everyone agrees when he makes a Tanai and then his Kansa Stam, he presumably wanted the Tanai to be in effect. So she doesn't need a get. Amar Abaye, Hamasistan Taos Isha Achas Kozina to Yufta Minay. Sorry. So that's what Abaye says. Rabbi was talking about a case where, like our Mishnah was talking about a case Toz Isha Achas Ke'ein Shtei Nashim, a weird case talking about where he makes it Tanai, and then he's Magarisher, and then he's a Kansa again, we assume the Tanai. Everyone agrees. Rav would even agree that in a regular case, Kitcha Tanai V'Kinsa Stam, Rav would agree to Shmuel that he wouldn't need to get in that case. Abaye has the following question on this interpretation. Kitcha B'Tos, the Bryce is Makadisher B'Tos. Tos, we don't know what it means. The Gemara will explain. Pachim Shava Pruta, or is Makadisher with less than Shava Pruta. In order to Makadisher Isha with money, you have to be worth a Shava Pruta. The Chen Katan Shakidesh, a Katan, a minor who's Makadish. I'll be Shalach Sivlonos the Akramikain, even though he sent gifts after he became a Gadol, and a Mekudeshes. She's not Mekudesh. Machmas Kedushin are Rishonim Shalach. The Mar Darshans and Mesachas Kedushin, Ish has to be Makadesh, a Katan who's younger than 13 years old, and one day can't be Makadesh a woman. And even if he sends Sivlonos, he sends gifts after, we don't assume the Sivlonos affect the Kedushin. We assume he's Makadesh based on what he did when he was a Katan, which is invalid. Shemachmas Kedushin are Rishonim Shalach. He sent the gifts, right, the engagement gifts, based on the original Kedushin. And he didn't mean that the Sivlonos should be the Kedushin. V'im balu kanu. If after they became a gadol, they're a boel, Tanakam was a kohen. It's a good Kedushin. Rishon Yehuda Omer Mishor Mishmol Amar in balu lo kanu. If they're boel afterward, they weren't kanu. Hacha the tos isha achasi. It's talking about tos. It says tos. One of the cases is tos. So we're talking about tos isha achasi, right? Upligi my love tos and darim. Are we talking about that case where he stipulates and he says, I don't want you to have Nadarim, and then they're Kansastam, right? And the Tanakama holds in that case that in Bolu Kanu, right? Like Rav says, right? And they do Bia afterwards, right? So therefore we can assume that he wanted the Be'ila now to affect the Kedushin. And they should be Mikudesh and should need to get. So the Gemara says, "Lo, we're not talking about toast and darim. Toast pakos shava pruta. We're talking about a different case we haven't talked about until now, where he's makadosh the shava pruta, and he doesn't know. He thinks that he can makadosh less than shava pruta, and he doesn't know that he needs shava pruta. Pakos shava pruta behedya katani la. The Gemara says, you don't have to tell me that. That's the second case in this brisa. Kid shava toast, a pakos shava pruta, the vav, or a pakos shava pruta. So the Gemara answers, no, prusha kamafarish. Really, the Bryce is explaining. The first two cases are just an explanation of each other. Kitsha betos ketzad. Kilgoncha kitsha apaklam b'shava pruta. He's makadosh or less shava pruta. He thinks it's effective. Michael Miflagi. What's the machlokas between the Rabbanan and the Rav Shimon? Mar Stavar Adam Yodei Shen Kedushin Tovsin and Apaklam Shava Pruta. Right? According to the Tanakam, he knows Kedushin doesn't work with Shava Pruta. Hakal Shava Pruta. Ragamar Rabal Shen Kedushin. Originally, when he gave it, he thought it was, but then he realized that it's not. So then, when he did the Be'ila, right, he was Makadosh Shem Kedushin, and they're married. The second opinion, Reb Shimon ben Yehuda says, person doesn't know his Kedushin, it's not Tov, it's Pakam Shav Bruta. V'gamar Baal, Kika Baal, that did the Kedushin Rishon and Baal. When he did Bia, it wasn't for new marriage, it was just based on the original Kedushin, which is ineffective. Esive, another question from Rabbi Zarini Baal, Ayich, I'm going to mekadesh you with Bia on condition that your father wants us to be married. You make a tonight, your father wants to be married. Tanakam holds, even if the father didn't want, we find out the father didn't want, we'll explain soon what this means, the father didn't want, she's Mikudesha. So Shimon Yudah Omer, Shimon Rata, Mikudesha, the Rata, and Mikudesha. He has to verbally say, I wanted them to be married. If he says they want to be married, then it's a good Kiddush, and the tonight was fulfilled. Lo rata, if the father does not want, we find that he doesn't want, she's not mekudesh. It's talking about a toast, right? You make a tanai. It's not a tanai of nadarim. It's a tanai the father should want. Her father should agree to the marriage. Upligi, and they still argue, right? Not everyone argues. Not everyone agrees, like Rabbi had suggested. Whereas hasam hakam ifligi. No, they have a different machlokas. Marshal v'nashir ta'av, amanash yishto ka'av. Hashastikle. Tanakama holds. When you say make a t'nai that the father should want, as long as he's quiet, shtika go da. The fact that he shows it, that's like he wanted, so therefore the t'nai was fulfilled. When you say abashir to abba, it means the father should say yes. Vaha lo amar abba hein. The father didn't say yes; he was quiet, so therefore the t'nai wasn't fulfilled. Esive. Another question. the Chacham admits Rabbi Elazar by Aktana, she gets married by her father, right? Father can marry off his daughter when she's Aktana, Midoraisa, but then she gives Megarish, they got divorced when she's Aktana. V'echzira, and he remarried her, presumably we'll see as Aktana, Shecholezes al Misabemes. Out of that second marriage, and the husband died before she became Agdola, so she can do Chalitza, but not Yibam. The reason she can't do Yibam is because her marriage of Aktana, that her father didn't marry, the second marriage is only marriage to Rabbanan. Aktana can't be married unless the father marries her off as Aktana. So therefore, the second marriage is Darabbana. Therefore, the mitzvah of Yibam is only Darabbana. You have to do Chalitza because the mitzvah of Eishes Ach is a Doraisa. Right? Her Gerushin from the first marriage is a complete Gerushin. Getting married as Aktana is only Darabbana. Medar Amurim. When are we talking? When is this case talking about? She got remarried as Aktana. She got remarried as Agdola. Or even if she got remarried as Aktana, but they remained married to the second husband until the point where she came 12 years old, a mace, and then he died after she came 12 years old, and they had a bia before he died. Then you can do Chalitza or Yibam, because once she reached the age of 12 and they had a bia, so therefore they reestablished, she did a marriage del Raisa. Mishum Lezer Amru, the top of Ayin Dalam and Aleph, Choletzes Lamaz Yababes. Even in this case, do Chalitza and not Yibam. V'hacha, this case, the Katos Isha Achas Dami. Right? It's not talking about a case of one woman. Upligi, and they argue. Hasam Nami Hakam Mifligi. The Gemara says, no, there's different cloaks over there. Marsav Adam Yodea She'en Kiddush Shektana Klum. Right? One opinion holds, the Tanakama holds, he knows that a Kedusha Tana, right? The girl knows that Kedusha of Tana, the second marriage, is invalid. When she was Boel the man, she remarried or married the second time, she was Hashem Kedushin, and therefore, and she got remarried Midaraisa. Mar Savar, Ezra holds, she doesn't know, she's not aware that her Kedushin to the second husband was invalid. Even when she gets older, she thinks that she's continuing the marriage that began while she was Aktana. Itmar Nami Amar Ravach Amar Yaakov Amar Yochanan Amar Kadesh Al Tanaya Baal Divrei Akol Ines Shricha Manu Get. Rabbi Yochanan says the exact halacha. Kadesh Al Tanaya Baal Divrei Akol Ines Shricha Manu Get. Everyone agrees you don't need a get, like Rabbah said, right? Like Rabbah said that Rav and Shmuel agree. You don't need to get in that case because we don't assume we assume that the Tanai is no longer there. The Tanai is no longer there, and we assume the Tanai still is in place, and therefore the Tanai wasn't Niskayim. She has a Darim or Mumim or some other Tanai wasn't fulfilled. So therefore, don't need to get because the Tanai invalidated the marriage. We'll continue this discussion on Daf Ayin Dal. I hope you enjoyed today's shir. I know it was a little quick, but I have to make up a lot of ground because I don't know what day this year. I think it's Shabbos is year. It's already Monday. I'm making up a lot of shiurim. So anyway, stay tuned for Ian with Ben Sion. We're going to talk more about now the halacha. As we'll see in Daf Ayin Dal, halacha does not follow Rabbah at all. It actually follows Rav. Kid shal tanai v'kansa stam. We assume that you need a get. Midoraisa, you need a get. The reason you need a get midoraisa is because, like the Gemara says, don't think it's because he's mochal the tonight. It's because Einan Mosa Bilas of Bilas Nus. That's the reason. Einan Mosa Bilas of Bilas Nus. So therefore, even though the Tanai is Niskayim, it really shouldn't be. The first original Kedushin is invalid. The Bia itself is a Kedushin, right? What's the difference between that and being Mochal the Tanai? And based on how do you explain the words, right, that we say under the Chuppah in Birchas Erisin, we say, Al de Chuppah v'Kedushin, new meaning given to that based on this machlokas between Rav and Shmuel. See you in Iyot Ben Sion coming up next.